ever researched the long-term effects of socialism? If you listen to progressive democratic leaders, Hollywood included, and the media, socialism is touted as the answer to all of Americans' modern-day perils. No poverty, complete redistribution of wealth, no more inequality. The government provides for all of society needs. Sounds like a utopian society, right? Then why has it failed more than any other political or religious ideology in the past century? Over the last 100 years, every government that has attempted socialism has experienced extreme hunger and poverty, as well as devastating levels of violence and mass destruction. So, what is socialism? Wikipedia defines socialism as a political and an economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Yet, in all cases, the whole does not own the majority. In fact, in all socialist governments, wealth and power all shift to one common entity, the government. Don't believe it? Let's take a closer look at Venezuela and how socialism has impacted them over the last several years. Despite what you have seen in the news lately, just 20 years ago, Venezuela was the fourth richest country in the world on a per capita basis, with the largest proven fossil fuel reserves in the world. They were a thriving, competitive country. Today, unfortunately, Venezuela has experienced bankruptcy and civil war. You may ask these questions. What happened? How did this happen? Who's responsible for what has happened? Well, in the case of Venezuela, the entire economic crash was brought on by an abuse of power, unrestrained public spending, and price controls, and the government siphoning from the private industry. In other words, Venezuela was crushed by inept socialist policies. When control and money goes to the government entities, those government entities take over private industries, and with little to no oversight, they implode. And it's happened time and time again in other countries as well, such as Cuba and the Soviet Union. Another key component that socialism does not factor in is the psychology of how humans actually respond to incentives. In a recent article entitled "Why Socialism Failed," Mark Perry eloquently explains the importance of incentives to drive engagement and growth in a society. Perry states, a centrally planned economy without market prices or profits, where most of the property is owned or controlled by the state, is a system without an effective incentive mechanism to direct economic activity. By failing to emphasize incentives, socialism is a theory inconsistent with human nature, and therefore it is doomed to fail. Simply put, if a society rations wealth and resources with little to no incentive around work or effort, that society lacks ambition to grow, develop, or even prosper. In fact, we can see this today in the systematic oppression of our modern welfare systems, but that's another video for another day. The majority of the 2020 presidential candidates in the Democratic Party in the past have publicly endorsed Venezuela as a model of what America should aspire to be. In fact, the majority have wrongly endorsed several socialist countries, leaders, and policies, all with similar outcomes like what we have seen in Venezuela. Ask yourself this question: why do these candidates continue to push and insist upon progressive socialist models, even though they have all consistently failed? The answer? Control. Yet history shows over and over again that socialist leaders have mismanaged their governmental control, further driving their country into desolation as well as despair. Our founding fathers envisioned a country where there would be limited centralized government. Let's help realize that dream by engaging in the war that has been waged against our individual freedom. It's time to take America back.